Good afternoon and welcome to Lichtsinn RV, where we literally are only 1 mile north of the Winnebago, Itasca, and Winnebago Touring Coach Division of Winnebago Industries right here in Forest City, Iowa. I want to welcome all of you to today's live monthly webcast, and we're going to walk through the most common tips and trips and preventative maintenance services that you can do for your RV. I have a lot of special guests here in our marketing studio today that I'll walk you through. Brian Buffington is our service director here at Lichtsinn RV. Ben Folman is one of our RVDA Certified Technicians. A real proud moment for our dealership this past week. All of our technicians are all now Master Certified through RVDA, through the certification program that RVDA offers. So again, quite an accomplishment for Ben and all of Brian's team members as we service your RV here at Lichtsinn RV. I also want to welcome Suann Hadacic. Suann is going to moderate today's chat. And Suann works in our marketing team, as well as Hope Lichtsinn behind the camera, as well as Callie Schmidt, our marketing manager here at Lichtsinn RV. Today's webcast, we're going to walk through top preventative maintenance services for your RV. However, one of the things that makes these live webcasts so informative and value added for you, our guests, is when we can actually communicate with you and cover the content that's important to you, our guests. If you look off to the right on your screen, you'll actually see a video tab as well as a chat tab. Be sure to jump into that chat tab and submit any questions that you have as we go through preventative maintenance services for your RV. We want to make certain that we get all of the value and cover all of your questions today as we walk through these preventative maintenance services. Also keep in mind that the same type of live technology we can do in the comfort of your own home or office at any point in time with any of our factory-trained sales consultants here at Lichtsinn RV on any of our in-stock RVs that we offer. So again, we can do the same type of an appointment you would have by going to a dealership in the comfort of your own home or office. We can conference in a partner or a spouse for a great three-way dialogue in covering the things that are important to you in an RV. So today we're going to cover preventative maintenance services. Be sure to bring in all of your chat questions. I'm going to let Brian and Ben take things away. And again, enjoy today's webcast.
All right, thanks, Ron. So I think our first one that we had is the #1 maintenance issue that is sometimes overlooked by guests is sealants. So it's important if you have a brand new Winnebago to keep the inspections up to date with the warranty that you have on your roof. If you're not getting it inspected due to sealant issues, and you do have leaks and damage that can affect your warranty. So it's very important, not only that for the warranty, but it also protects your investment. Water damage is very costly to fix, and once it's in there, it can do a lot of damage. So every time you come in for service at Lichtsinn RV, we do a complimentary sealant inspection, where Ben will get up on the roof and do a visual inspection, or one of our other techs will get up on the roof for you, do a visual inspection. And what we're mainly looking for is the sealants around the roof vents, antennas,
pretty much anywhere that passes through the roof. Anywhere that Winnebago cuts a hole in that roof, we're checking to make sure those seals are all good, making sure there's no voids, cracks, any of that stuff. You know, sticks, stuff like that, puncture these seals, which is really bad for your RV.
Yep, and then, you know, we're also looking at your roof coves, and your roof cove is right above your awning rail on the motorhome. We have a display here to kind of break that down too, and we do have a sealant video out there too that you can look at where we go a little bit more in depth, but we check these out for you. If water gets in there, it can do a lot of damage. So we get up there and do that, and we always use Winnebago's authorized sealant. So we're using the same stuff that Winnebago puts on from the factory, which I have a few products out here right now. You know, Manus Bond is for more of our painted or non-painted units like this one here. And they'll also use the Stone Mason here, the gutter sealant, and the Winnebago self-leveling. So it's very, very important to get up there. Check your sealants out at least twice a year is what we generally recommend. And again, it's something that we do for every guest when they come in here. So the other thing that we have with sealants is we've, in the last year, purchased a SealTech machine. And the Sealtech machine is actually over here, and then there's not a lot to show on that because it's on our cart right now. But the Sealtech machine, what it does is we hook it up to a roof vent, and through the roof vent we're able to pressurize the motorhome. So what will happen is we bring in outside air, we pressurize the motorhome, our travel trailer, whatever you want us to look at, we pressurize that, and then we're able to go around the outside and use a spray solution, which is basic soap and water, and we can spray down all suspect areas, all seams, gaskets, windows, roof coves, and if a leak is there, what we'll see is bubbles. You know, so if the air can escape out, water can get in. It's been a great tool that we've purchased. We've been able to help a lot of guests out with that, finding roof leaks and that sort of thing. So we do offer a service like that too, complete inspection with this as well. So if you have some leaks, just not quite sure where it's coming from, maybe you just want it, tested to see.
Make sure you don't have any leaks.
You don't have any leaks, and you're doing some preventative maintenance. It's not a bad thing to have done once in a while. We can look for that. Do we have a question? No? Okay. If there's no questions on any of the sealant issues, again, just try to keep up on your sealant issues. Our second one that we brought up was
just one more thing on sealants. If you do your own sealants, make sure you know what to do with those sealants, because a lot of our silicones and stuff like that, we have to make sure we remove all the old silicone and stuff before we apply new. So just make sure you know what you're doing. Call us, bring it to us, we'll take care of it for you. Same with the Sealtech and that's going to show all those bad spots. And that's what happens a lot of times is when people seal it wrong or don't do it right, it doesn't look like there's a void or a crack, but yet the water can get in the coach there because someone did it wrong or you just don't see it.
And I think a common mistake made too is a lot of people will grab just whatever they can from a hardware store, put some sealants over it, and sealants don't like to stick to each other. Even sometimes the exact same sealant doesn't like to stick to itself years later. So
there's a lot of times you can go up and someone put sealant over it. I can grab that old sealant and just pull it off by my hand. So it's really important you know what you're doing up there.
So any questions on that, you can always call and talk to Justin, Andrews, or myself. We can help guide you to that, and then the Monty and our parts group can help hook you up with the correct sealant too. So good on our sealants. All right. So
Sounds
that's
great.
our number one is sealants, making sure you maintain those.
Yeah.
The second thing I think we had as a top priority was generator service. Another common thing that we hear people are proud of how many few hours that they have on their generator. Anytime I hear someone say, well, hey, I only have 15 hours on my generator, that's, in the service world, that's a bad thing. That tells, especially if the motorhome's a couple years old, or even a year old, and you only have 15 hours on it, that tells most service people that it hasn't been run enough, and there's going to potentially be some problems. So Onan recommends what, Ben?
2 hours a month under a 50% load is what we should always be running those generators. If we can do it more than that, that's great. But 2 hours a month is the minimum they want you to run. And so minimum you should have 24 hours a year on your coach. So like Brian was saying, when we see that 15 hours, pretty much we know there's probably going to be a problem with that generator. So best thing, run the generators. If you run them, they're going to run good for you.
Yeah, and I know some people will store their RVs and say it's hard to do that. A common tip there is, getting if you can't run it because it's in a storage building or something like that. They make a lot of good fuel additives out there that you can at least get that in there, and try to get that run through the carburetor if it's a carbureted unit. That way you protect that, because I don't know how many years ago, but the carburetors and the gasoline generators nowadays, they're not a clean, you can't clean them, you can't fix them. It's basically take the carburetor out, put a new one in. So, and that job itself is several $100. So easy thing to save yourself a lot of money is just exercising your generator. And you're also making sure that it's going to work for you next time, when you need it. So Try to exercise your generator. The other thing that we see commonly on the generators is the hours and the service interval. You know, it's I think initial is 20 hours on most of them that they recommend that you change the oil on your generator. After that, it's typically on average, depending on what you have, 150 hours after that, or every 12 months. So we've had, you know, guests kind of roll through that haven't had their oil changed at all. Motorhome's a couple years old, and it's because they are going by the hours. So a lot of our maintenances are not just hours or miles. We have to consider time too. So generator oil changes, running that generator is very important.
Keep it up on the maintenance, I mean, exercising it, running it. Again, the oil changes at least once a year. You can do them more often if you want to. Especially if you know you're going out on a trip or something, you might be using that generator quite a bit. Go ahead and just change that oil. Get the oil out, let's get new oil in it, then we're good. I mean, generators are a very costly thing that's on your RV, so let's maintain them. You want to keep them up, keep them serviced pretty much.
Okay. All right, the next thing, if we don't have any other questions, the next thing that was on our top maintenance issues are RV batteries. The batteries, I think in most RVs and motorhomes, people don't give them a second thought. It's just there and it needs to work when it works. And a lot of people don't believe that there is maintenance that you have to do to them. And that can be true in some cases depending on the type of battery that you have. If it's AGM batteries, or you know, now they have lithium ion batteries out there, they don't take a lot of maintenance with them. But your typical RV like this Vista here, that will have a lead acid battery in it, and that does require you to check the water level in them.
Yep. And you know, the more that we're using that coach and the more, you know, load that we're putting on those batteries, the more we're using that coach, the more load we're putting on those batteries, probably the more often we want to check those batteries. I mean, if you're checking them once a month, that's good. Check them. I mean, if you at least check them a couple times a year, just to make sure that water level's up. But the more we check them and the more we maintain coach batteries, the longer they're going to last. And again, they're not cheap to replace a lot of these batteries, especially when you start talking lithium ions, talking AGM batteries. They cost quite a bit to replace, so just keep them clean is another big thing on top. Make sure all the posts and everything don't have oxidation on top. Keep them clean. That's another thing.
So in most Winnebago RVs, your house batteries are located under the entrance step. So Views, Navions, Mini Winnies, you know, most of the product line other than your diesel pushers, they're located directly under your entrance step. So if you don't know where your house batteries are, it means that maybe we haven't done maintenance on them, and it's a good idea to get out and look at it. If it's something that you're not comfortable with, it's obviously something we can help you out with. It's something that we can walk you through on the phone. It's something that most RV dealers, you know, can handle for you. But make sure that it's something that you do get looked at. The fourth step that we had on here is inspecting all major appliances. It's a good idea, and most of our recommendations that we have out there is every 12 months at least, go through and look at your major appliances, have them inspected by someone who knows what they're looking for. Burner tubes on water heaters, burner tubes on refrigerators, all can tend to get insects. Love the smell of LP for some reason. They get in there and they like to build nests around there. They get in there and they will die. That can cause flame issues. Can be a real safety concern on some things. And so that's a big thing that we do for maintenance, is getting out there and looking at your burner assemblies and tubes and making sure that those are burning well. Anything else on that, Ben?
Pretty much on that. If you have any questions on that, you can check our archive videos out on our website. We do have videos on those services that we do offer, especially like refrigerator maintenances, water heater, all of those maintenances. So if you're more curious about those, go to our website and check those archive videos.
The other thing that we have too is the AquaHot. You know, if you have a diesel pusher and it has an AquaHot system in it, that should be serviced once a year, if not more, depending on how much you use it. You know, it's something that we commonly see People don't get them looked at or worked on until they're not burning good anymore. They're actually having troubles with it. They're not getting the hot water. They're not getting the heat that they expect. And, you know, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's probably just a lack of, it's a burning issue and how it actually is working. So an AquaHot service, if you look into it, it is definitely required to have after so many hours and definitely once a year. The AquaHot service that we do is taking the whole assembly apart, cleaning the burner tube assembly, replacing the nozzle.
Changing the fuel filter underneath, basically just looking over the whole system, making sure everything's functioning right, making sure you don't have any problems with that AquaHot. And again, it is a very important service that people do overlook a lot of times because they just think it's a heater, it works, they're gonna go with it. But make sure you do that at least once a year. Again, you can do it more. Definitely, it's not a big deal if you do it more. Actually, it would help it run a lot more efficient if you do it more. So just keep up on that service.
It looks like, guys, we've got our first question. A guest is asking about the door seal on their reefer. On the bottom half of the door, it says it has a gap, and they're wondering what they can do to fix that.
So the question was that they have a gap on their door on the bottom of the refrigerator. Some gaskets are replaceable, some are not. So it really is going to depend on the manufacturer of that refrigerator. It's something that if you want to call in, we can look up your vehicle information and try to figure out if that gasket is replaceable. Unfortunately, sometimes if there's a gap or a tear, sometimes it is the whole door that has to be replaced. And it's definitely something that will cause you trouble, as you might already know, with air getting in the refrigerator, condensation, poor cooling. But there's unfortunately not much you can do with a gasket issue other than replace it. So
yeah, and definitely get that fixed because that's gonna have nothing but problems for your fridge. Ventilation is one of the worst things with a fridge, whether it's rear ventilation, you know, air getting in from the front, it all affects the cooling procedure of that fridge. So quicker you get that fixed, better off you're gonna be.
Okay, on the appliance inspections, there's a relatively new product out there. It's called the Truma AquaGo. It's been out there for a while, I guess. Maybe we started seeing it last year.
Yep.
The Truma AquaGo is an on-demand water heater that is commonly found in some of the Views and Navions. So if you have an AquaGo, one of the biggest maintenance issues on the AquaGo is decalcifying it. So there are 2 different ways you can do it, and it all depends on the type of AquaGo that you have. If you have an inside control for your AquaGo and it has a clean function on there, then you can do it yourself. And that just takes these tablets here, which if you are an AquaGo owner, you probably had a bulletin sent to you by Truma explaining what this is all about. But in order to use the kit yourself, and you can buy these tablets here, you have to have the inside controller that shows you the cleaning function on it. And if you purchased your View or Navion prior to, I would say, January 1st of this year, odds are you don't have that. I think we started seeing the units with the controller sometime after, you know, January 1st up until I think everything coming out now is pretty much has that. So if you've purchased your motorhome prior to that, this unfortunately isn't going to work for you, but there is a solution out there. So we are a Truma dealer, and we purchased a decalcification kit. And unfortunately, that's something that, you know, if you read your owner's manual, it says you'll have to take it to a dealer to have done. And it's mainly because of the kit, and we have to use a little bit different of a chemical mixture. And we put this in there, and it runs through your heater for about 2 hours. And it gets into the smaller lines, the capillary tubes of that water heater, cleans that out. So Truma, to get their water delivered to you, they reduce the size of the piping inside. It can get small, and when you're adding heat to that, basically what can happen is it can start to build up calcium on the inside of your water lines. That's going to eventually affect how your water heater performs, the amount of hot water that you have available to you. So if you don't have the inside controller, unfortunately, it's something that a Truma dealer can help you out with. It's something we can help you out with here on a visit. It doesn't take us, long to hook up and do. It's just it does take about 2 hours of running through the solution to clean that out. So Truma's recommendation on that is at least every year. It can be up to 4 times a year, depending on your usage and the hard water conditions that you might be in. So
that was great work, Brian. That was the question we just got in. So hopefully you've covered the answer in terms of time period for doing your service.
Okay.
And with that time period, when they say 2 hours, make sure you let it run that full cycle. Truma says if you stop it early, you have the tendency to hurt the unit. So make sure it's all the way through that function and goes all the way.
And that's the same if you have the Truma Combi as well. Isn't that a little bit different?
The Truma Combi is different. Yeah. This is just for the Truma AquaGo, which is it looks like the same size of a standard 6-gallon water heater. Yep. But this is a Truma AquaGo. It's not the Truma Combi.
So what is does that require annual service? We had a question come in.
I don't. Nope. The Truma Combi has normal water line sizes going through it. There isn't a decalcification process out there on that, to my knowledge, yet.
No, and that would just go back to sanitizing your lines, especially when you deep winterize and stuff. Put that bleach in there, sanitize those lines. That's the main thing through the hot water part of it and stuff. Because the Truma Combi does have a 2.5-gallon reservoir. Yep.
The Truma AquaGo has maybe a gallon or less reservoir in it. So the Truma Combi is more of a instantaneous water heater, and they just have smaller lines through it that need to get cleaned out. So you should be fine on the Combi.
Yep.
So on appliances inspections, I just want to make sure I didn't leave something out. The next thing, I think, if we don't have any other questions on appliance inspections, is obviously there's more to your motor home than the RV portion of it. You have a chassis that needs to be taken care of as well. And we offer a lot of services there that can help you out with that. Obviously, everybody knows about oil changes and their intervals. They all vary a little bit. Depending on your chassis manufacturer. But again, on that, pay attention to not only miles, but time. Most manufacturers recommend
that varies a little bit.
1 to 2 years. It depends on the manufacturer again, but most of them recommend a 1 to 2 year or every so many thousand miles. So just don't go by your miles. So oil changes are pretty standard. Lubricating the front end, suspension parts, and that sort of thing is all something that we can do for you while you're here too, but it's definitely something you should keep up on. The other things that people don't commonly think about is as they start to get more miles on their motorhome. Do we have a question?
Yep, so I'm going to break in on you for a second. We're going to back up to the Truma decalcification process. A guest is asking if it's possible to get the auto feature added to the inside of their coach if they do not currently have it, and they were wondering about the cost for that.
Okay, that is something that I can research if you want to send me an email in. I have looked around on that, and I don't believe that it's compatible without switching out maybe the board, the brain in the Truma itself. I can certainly contact Truma for you, but it's not I don't know. So I guess that would be a question that just send me your contact information. You can get directly to me at service@lichtsinn.com. That'll come into me. Or if you are a guest of ours and you already have my contact information, just send me an email and I will research that for you. But I do think it would require changing out the board that's in the Truma water heater itself, and then running a data cable from the AquaGo to the inside of the coach somewhere.
The other part of that question was asking about cost.
Okay, and the cost, if I don't, once I'll see if it's possible. If it's possible, we can get you cost estimates on that too.
Okay, next question is the seal around main door is worn out in certain places. What would you recommend for fixing?
replace them.
Yep.
I mean, anytime the seals are actually pretty inexpensive, and best thing to do is definitely replace them. Any voids or cracks, you're gonna get moisture, other things getting in, you know, air leaks, stuff like that. You don't want to get that stuff in your coach, so just replace that seal.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, so on to some of the chassis things. As your coach starts to get more miles on it, people often overlook and don't do this. I know I'm guilty of it as well, up until recently, I guess, but we offer different services from a company by the name of BG, and we have a total transmission flush, which we can, you know, you want to show them the transmission flush, Ben?
Yes. So transmission flush is pretty much where we're just getting old transmission fluid out of there, circulating new transmission fluid in, because over time, transmission fluid does break down. It picks up particles from your engine, stuff like that. We want to get that out of there. That's one of the main things. So we do have a cleaner that we run through first, and then after we're done with the cleaner, we put a conditioner in there. Helps condition the lines, helps keep up on keeping those lines good pretty much. Pretty much on that.
The transmission flush is generally, you have to look at your chassis manufacturer, but rule of thumb is every 30,000 miles would be a recommendation. That's pretty common, is about 30,000. Definitely something that's easy for us to take care of while you're in for getting other service work done. And you know, we've done several of them here, and it's very interesting to see the color of some of the transmission fluid that comes out of there with all the different, you know, breaking down the chemical and the fluid itself and picking up, you know, impurities.
Okay, we've got another question. Okay. Guest has a 2016 Itasca Navion, and the service light came on after 20 months and 13,000 miles. They've talked to a few different dealers and just wondering about recommendations in terms of miles and time related to that service light that they've gotten.
Okay. Yeah, that service light is basically telling you that it's time to change oil. Mercedes right now is 2 years,
20,000.
20,000. They were, how many years ago was that? It was
for the last three years.
3 years
changed. They went from 10,000 to 15,000. Now they're at 20,000 2 year. They've also switched from 1 year to 2 year. And again, I think it's probably because the oils have changed and synthetics, stuff like that in the oil.
Okay, that was great. That was actually a question from another guest asking about oil change intervals on the Navions, which you guys have just covered.
Yep, you have to check your particular chassis owner's manual on your year specifically, but for a while now it's been 2 years or 20,000.
Yep, beginning of 16, I believe, is pretty much when I went to that, give or take a little bit.
Okay. All right, so transmission flush, that's kind of, we kind of overviewed that, I guess. The other thing that we also recommend is a coolant flush. Coolant has the same issues that any other liquid that you would have in your RV. It tends to break down. It picks up, you know, any impurities inside the block of the engine or the radiator itself, and those just free float around. So we do have the same type of service for that. That's generally recommended around every 50,000. So 50,000 or 5 years, I believe.
This is 3 years, 30, 50,000, 5 years.
And so what we do on a coolant flush is we'll take a cleaner and we'll run it through there. That helps capture some of those particles, helps clean the inside of the engine, inside of the radiator. Once all that's heated up and run around and has started cleaning everything, we go ahead and hook it up to the machine. We start to purge all that old coolant out by flushing it out, not just dumping it out of a drain. We are actually pushing it through the motor, cleaning everything out and doing a 100% swap. And then at the same time, we'll put a conditioner in there that will help, you know, keep that coolant in prime shape, basically, while you're running your next 30,000.
Yeah, and any of these services that we're talking about, if you go online to our service menu, it's pretty much going to tell you kind of miles, our recommendation for miles, kind of price of what we charge for this stuff, and just give you an overview of what we offer at the dealership. So it's a good reference just to go to and look at.
And you get to see Ben's videos again,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, there we go.
that's always enjoyable.
We just need to get Brian on one.
The other thing we have is a brake fluid line service that we can completely change out all the brake fluid too. That's a 100% swap of fluid because your brake fluid, believe it or not, can break down as well. And then rear differential, I think, is also commonly overlooked. People, I would say, rarely check it, rarely think about it. But your rear differential is on the back axle of any rear drive vehicle and has fluid in it that needs to be checked periodically. Make sure there's enough in there, and then obviously I think it's another 5-year or 50,000 on that too that we recommend that you get that fluid changed out. So the service, what that does is obviously we can get in there, we clean all that old oil out, suction it all out of there, put in all brand new, and you're good for another 50,000 or every 5 years. So.
Sounds great. We've got another question in. When do you change the fuel filter?
The fuel filter is mileage, not so much age on that, I think, but that definitely varies on each chassis as well. We can look up your specific information if you'd like, but otherwise it also is in the owner's manual. But that's based on miles.
And every coach is different, so it's hard to tell you the exact number. So yeah, definitely refer to your manual or give us a call.
If you're not sure on your particular coach, I'm happy to look that up for you too. And again, my contact information can be the same as I gave out before. It's service@lichtsinn.com, or just give us a call and I can get your coach information and look that up for you.
Great. We've got another guest question. How do I stop the squeaking of the entrance door in transit? What would you recommend to fix that problem?
Well,
Okay,
actually,
go ahead,
that's actually a pretty easy fix. All depends. I mean, it can be more than one thing. It can be sometimes the panels on the screen door itself that are squeaking.
She's talking about here.
Yeah. So yeah, panels there. Or if it's the actual door squeaking, a lot of times it's adjusting the actual catch here, on the latch here. So right here, it's actually adjusting that. It's adjusting it tighter to the coach, so we suction that seal tighter to the coach. What happens is they loosen up sometimes, kind of slip out, and then your door can sit there and squeak. So all you gotta do is pretty much take an Allen wrench, loosen that up, push it in, tighten it back down, and then test your door. Make sure it's shutting. Your doors are gonna have dual latches too. So you'll hear it click once, it has to click twice. There's a second catch there that we want you to click for it to seal. And it could be you're just not shutting your door hard enough, but more than likely it's an adjustment that you have to make up there.
An easy way to kind of tell which way you need to adjust that latch is actually look at the bolt itself. Look at the latch and see where it's rubbing. You're going to see it if it's on the back side. It's not probably shutting all the way as tight as it could. If you're metal to metal on the top, it might be a little high and you have to adjust it down. So you have to look for where it's wearing. And I'll generally tell you where your door squeak is at.
Yeah. And when I said those panels, if it's those panels rattling, just actually you can take some black, we use a black thermal, which I don't have out here, and seal those panels up on both sides. That will stop that rattling and get rid of that also.
Okay, next question. Related back to the fuel filter that we spoke about earlier, a 2015 Mercedes chassis. This is a quiz round.
It is a quiz round.
I'd have to look. I don't know right off the top of my head. Yes, you do.
Top of my head, I don't. I'm struggling too. So.
Okay, and Brian, you'd given your contact information,
Yep,
so please go ahead and send in a question, and we'll be happy to answer.
Yep. All right.
Moving on.
Yeah, we'll get that information for you. Sorry about that. The other thing that we had on the chassis, I think that was pretty much it. Tires. Obviously, I almost forgot about tires. Tires are very important. Something that I would do on every trip that you're going to take, every pre-trip inspection. You want to make sure you're maintaining tire pressure, the proper tire pressure. There's a lot of misinformation out there or misunderstanding about what my tire pressure should be at in your motorhome. Winnebago will put the recommended amount next to the driver's seat generally. It'll give you a rear and front. They might be different, they might be the same. One thing to note, and I can get probably too far into this, but one thing to note is that that is the recommended pressure based on maximum cargo carrying capacity. So anyhow, checking your tires ahead of time, making sure that they're fully charged up. Low tire pressure is going to cause issues, so blowouts and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and with tire pressure, the best way to actually get an accurate tire pressure is get each axle weighed, take it to a place that can tell you exactly how much tire pressure needs to be in that tire based on the weight that's in your coach. That's always the best way to get an actual weight in the tire pressure.
Okay, so that's enough on the chassis for now. The other thing that we had on our top list, I believe, next was the slide and jack maintenance.
Tire pressures.
Okay.
Another service that we do offer is nitrogen and multi-seal. Two great things. Nitrogen won't fluctuate like air. We've seen air fluctuate from, say you got 61 PSI on your tire, you see it go up to 80 sometimes. It all depends on the heat of that tire. So nitrogen helps keep that cool in there, won't fluctuate as much. Multi-seal helps find you this one.
Multi-seal is a product that we put into your RV tires. It's developed by the military years ago. We have some information, great information on our website on it, but it's a product that we put into the tire. And it can seal a hole up to 5/8 of an inch in diameter instantly and continue to seal that hole as you're driving. And then with that, you know, you get a roadside service warranty and that sort of thing too. So it's a great product. I have it in some of my vehicles. And we've helped a lot of guests with that out. And it's definitely kind of a worry-free product that you can put into the tire so you don't notice, you know, if you don't notice the low tire pressure. Tire blowouts can be deadly. They can be very expensive. There hasn't been a year that I've been here so far that I haven't done repairs, extensive body damage repairs because of a blowout. So it can be very costly, and those people are all safe, but they have had accidents out there that everybody's probably read about. So it's a great product to protect your investment too. After the chassis, we had slide and jack maintenance. A lot of people want to know what to do with their slide outs. We've seen a wide variety of all sorts of spray-on cake lubrication that people put on slide outs that actually causes more damage than it's helping. The bottom line with slide outs is don't lubricate it unless you have to. Keeping your seals clean, lubricated is important because that puts resistance on sidewalls. And so a lot of times in our slide and jack service, we are actually cleaning your sidewalls of your motorhome. We're cleaning your seals so that they flip nicely, they slide well. We will inspect the slide outs to make sure that, you know, it's operating properly. If it does need lubrication, then we can lubricate them, but most of our product now that Winnebago has recommends this, the CRC Power Lube. And I wouldn't put anything else on the slide out, to be perfectly honest with you. WD-40 attracts oil. The other product tends to attract dirt, grime, and now you're rubbing that in your mechanism. So
yeah, so get WD-40 in your coach, literally get rid of it, put a can of this in there.
And
use this on anything else on the coach too.
This works great on everything, steps and all that. So, also jacks. Everybody, if you've read enough forums and you've been in the RV industry long enough, people know that you should lubricate the jack cylinders as well. If you're in salty conditions, they say, you know, every 2 to 3 days you should be lubricating those down so they don't start rusting. It's a good product for that too. Won't attract grease or dirt and grime and everything else. So. Slide and jacks, you know, making sure that those function properly, because everyone has heard horror stories on people with their rooms stuck out or jacks that won't come up, or, you know, that can be a real trip rumor. So making sure that those are maintained and you stay ahead of it is pretty important. Okay, no questions on that. We'll go to our last thing. It's a common problem, something that we see, and everybody knows about it, but it's keeping your tanks clean. And I'm not just talking about your black tank, or your gray tank, it's your freshwater tank. I have taken a few pictures of some pretty horrific inside looking It's looking inside someone's freshwater tank. Fresh water tends to build up, you know, slime and grime. Your Winnebago's owner's manual does go through a sanitizing procedure that I highly recommend doing based on what we've seen in freshwater tanks. A freshwater tank is generally hidden away, you don't see it, so you don't worry about it. You put water in it, you get water out of it. Some people don't drink the water that comes out of their tanks, some people do. But sanitizing that freshwater tank I think it's a must.
Yep.
It should be done based on what I've seen. So any questions on that, I can direct you to that in your website or in your owner's manual too, but it's a pretty easy procedure to follow, and it is in your Winnebago's owner's manual.
I'm gonna break in there
Okay.
for a second, Brian. We have a guest asking to repeat the name of the slide lubricant that you guys talked about.
Sure. It's a product made by CRC, and it's called Power Lube, High Performance Lubricant. And you can get it from us. You know, he's got a very competitive price on this, but about $13, $14. Works great for everything. So I'll leave that there. Yeah, back to the tanks. Was that any other questions? Okay. Keeping your freshwater tank is important. The sanitizing process. Any questions on that, you let us know. That's also a service that we can do. But your black and gray tanks, obviously keeping those clean, keeping your monitor panels reading accurately. There's reasons why we're going to do that. The other thing is just odor. Don't overlook your gray tank. A lot of times people overlook their gray tank thinking that it's just sink water and there's nothing wrong with it. Gray water can be just as bad as black water.
Worse most of the time, actually.
When you're washing soap, food, it's all full of enzymes. I mean, everything's got enzymes in it that we're running down a sink. And those build up on the inside of walls and build the slime, and they can start to stink after a while. So they do make a couple of good products out there. Level gauge cleaners, and you can put that in your gray tank as well to clean that up. Always recommend putting treatment into your black tank when you use it to help break down those solids. And then the other thing is just making sure you're always using plenty of water.
Yeah, use a lot of water. Anything. Definitely.
Just another request from a guest regarding the names of the products you recommend for cleaning the tanks.
Okay. This is a product made by Thetford, I believe. Yeah, Thetford. It's a level gauge cleaner. It helps break down those enzymes that tend to build up on the inside walls of tanks and give you the false readings. So that's called level gauge cleaner. It's good in black and gray tanks, so you can dump that down the toilet or right down the kitchen sink or the shower drain or whatever you have. So that's a pretty good product. Pretty easy to follow directions on the back. And then as far as the toilet chemicals, they make a wide variety of those. The Porta Packs have been something that we find pretty popular amongst our guests. It's something that I use, and I like them because I don't have to mess with the chemicals and measuring out the chemical.
And those chemicals are pretty nasty. If you get them on your hands, spill them on the floor, they will stain. So this saves from that problem too. It's like a dishwasher tablet, toss it down. Put a gallon of water with it, forget about it.
And some people think it's just for odor. I mean, I'm not going to get too much into whole black tank science, but it's not just for odor. It breaks down paper, it breaks down everything and makes it into a little bit easier to use and dispose of liquid. So.
Okay, next question. A guest is asking, does the water filter on the sink need to be changed every year, or does it depend on the usage of your sink?
I'd say both. I would do it yearly, definitely, but it is based on how much water we run through that filter. A lot of filters base their life on amount of gallons that run through that filter. So each filter is going to be different. It might be a 3,000 gallon filter, might be a 1,500. You kind of have to look at what filter you have and kind of base it on how much water you ran through it. But I would definitely do it yearly. And if you accidentally put RV antifreeze through that, throw it away and get a new one. But yeah, do it yearly.
And I always think too is it's how you're using it. You know, if you're a full timer, then you're going to be using it a lot more, and you're going to be going by gallons more than you are anything else. And you're going to start seeing pressure reducing through those faucets that are taking that. If you're just you're a part-timer, seasonal RVer, You got to think about that being a wet charcoal canister that you're just going to let sit for, 4 months and then put back in and drink out of it. So to me, it's more of a seasonal thing. I would replace it every year in that case. So.
Okay, great. Another guest question. What would you guys recommend to use on the exterior to keep the decals from fading?
Yeah, we offer, a Protect package here. It's something that if you do come to Lichtsinn RV, we have a spa package that we call it, the LRV spa. We can clean the motor home. We have our finishing department. We'll put a Protect on there, and it goes over the whole motor home, and that protects it from, just about anything, tree sap, the pollution that comes off the roof, the fading. It'll protect the decals. It'll protect all that and make it look a lot, last. The quality of the exterior is going to look a lot better for you. Keep it cleaner. So we offer that there. If that's not something that you're planning on coming our direction, it's going to take a lot longer with it. But the 303 product is actually not too bad. It's a product that you just have to put on by yourself and keep reapplying it. And that would protect it, and it's just to keep the UV rays and that sort of things off it. So.
Brian, would you mind showing that one more time? So
Okay. All right, not a problem. Like I said, if you just want to do spot treatments or do the whole coat yourself, this is a 303 product. It just blocks sun UV rays and helps, probably making your cleaning a little bit easier. But it's something you have to keep reapplying all the time too. So
yeah, and if you do have 303, you can use it anywhere on your coach. Any rubber seal, anything that needs to be conditioned. You can use it up on the dash, any of that stuff. It's gonna help on all of it.
Okay, we all good on questions?
Okay, Ben, Ryan, thank you so much today for all of your information on service. As always, if you have additional service questions, please chat in from our website, or you can certainly, Brian had provided his email address, service@littsinn.com, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. If you did want to look back at this webcast will be available at the link you came to today. It is also available, we'll be putting it in the next couple of days in our webcast archives on our website, where you can view it there, as well as if you wanted to kind of look back at something you heard about today. So thank you for looking in today at our April webcast on our top maintenance items for your RV. Again, Lichtsinn RV, just 1 mile from the Winnebago factory. Thank you.